Let's discuss about Cordova plugins, Ionic native. This is chapter number 9 from Ionic 6, Create Awesome Applications for iOS, Android, Desktop and Web by Andreas Dormann. So we might wonder, can I have some Ionic app accessing the hardware of the mobile device? Can I access the GPS? Can I access the sensors? Can I access the camera and so on? Actually, this is possible. This is possible through something called as Cordova plugins. And these plugins have their own wrappers which actually provide you the native functionality for your Ionic mobile applications. They also have the necessary promise or observables which could help you do your programming easier, to make your things easier. By the way, there are two types of plugins. There are plugins which are open source community plugins. There are also enterprise premier version plugins. So there are two types. Now as a starting point, we are going to do what is called geolocation. Geolocation actually provides you the latitude, longitude of your current location. If you want to use geolocation in an iOS device, we need to add certain configurations in your config.xml file. Let's say that we are going to work on this. Let's going to start doing some coding issues here. Step 1, what I have done is I have just copied the code from the chapter 6, which is basically the user interface components. I just made a copy of it. Now I'm going into src app folder and I'm going to use in the notepad, right? So let's see, I'm going to copy in app.module.ts. So I'm here with it. Similarly, I have another notepad here, second one, right? In here, let me bring in the necessary elements here. So I have two notepads here. This is the second one. In the first one, I'm going to take from the code, which is app.module.ts, from my folder, which is UI components folder. And I'm going to use the book code. This is the book code, chapter 9 code. So I'm going to src app.modules.ts. Okay, so these are the two codes here. To start with, I'm going to include what is called as geolocation. Okay, so I'm going to import geolocation here. So let me just put in, this is for chapter 9.2. So I've added in geolocation, importing is done. I also have to provide geolocation in the providers. So let's move on to the providers here. This is the provider here. So I'm adding geolocation here. Remember, this is separate one, so I'm just going to go add it outside. So I've added the geolocation. Once I'm done, I'm going to check my command prompt where I'm seeing there's an error. Cannot find the module awesome Cordova plugins geolocation, right? This is because I did not install the necessary plugin, right? So we need to start with installing the plugin. So go to the same folder. So I've opened up two command prompts. In one, I'm running Ionic surf, which is basically running my app. I have opened another command prompt where I have accessed the same folder. So I'm going to install the necessary. So these are the commands. I'm going to put in some commands here. So this is the first command, npm install cordova -plugin -geolocation. So once you have done this command, right, you need to do one more command here. So let it run. Okay, so it's going to do it. So meanwhile, I still have this error, which is basically coming from the app.module.ts. So this is the only change you need to do it in the app.module.ts. So while it is still installing it here, okay, it's installed. Do the second installation, which is install. Okay, there's a typo here. Install at awesome Cordova -plugins -geolocation. Okay, this is the second one. So this is basically what I'm installing right now. Let's say this is being currently installed. Okay, then the third command, Ionic cap sync, right? So this will sync everything. Now you see you have this error here. Okay, I'm just going to sync it up. So meanwhile, let us open one more code here. Okay, I'm going to my folder, pages, maps. I'm going to use map.module.ts. Okay, this is map.module.ts. Open the other one here. So move into the book code, pages, map, and then take upon map.module.ts, which is here. Right, let's try to compare them. Let's see what you have to do. In the case of map.module, also we need to include the geolocation. So let's go copy paste the geolocation, import it, and make sure this is also included in your providers. Okay, so let me just save it, go back. Right, so here now it is compiled successfully. I've added the geolocation in two files. One is app.module.ts, the other one is map.module.ts, and now it is fine. Meanwhile, I've also issued some commands which now it has been done. Okay, it is complete now. So let's go back to map.page.ts file here. Right, map.page.ts file. So I'm going to open up. This is the one, map.page.ts from the book. This is the code which I have right now. So in this code, what I have to do are few things. Number one, I'm going to import the geolocation here. Right. So let me just put here, this is for 9.2, save it, right, and just include it in the map.page.ts. And then there are a few changes I need to do, few additions I got to work on. Okay, so I'm going to call this method called calc root. Okay, this is the method. But once I click this, you will see there's an error in my prompt. It says calc root is not defined, it does not exist. Okay, so calc root is not available. So let me copy the calc root method, which is this one. Okay, so I've done with the calc root, but then you will have some more errors. It says loading control does not exist and geolocation does not exist, because this does not exist as well as this does not exist. The reason is because they were not included or injected into my controller, into my constructor. So I'm going to do it here and then click OK. Now it says could not find loading controller. Okay, there's a problem with loading controller. Reason because I don't have the loading controller in my import. Okay, so let me just import this line here as well. Right, now this time you will see it has something called duplicate identifier model controller, because model controller was already here, so I don't need it. I could just remove. I can put them in one sentence. I could also do it like this. So now it is compiled successfully. If I go in, I will be able to see that it has been successful. Nothing much here, but it is successful right now. So the point I did, I went to that map.page.ts, okay, where I have added this method called calc root. The calc root, what it does is it's going to access geolocation. From the geolocation, right, it will do what is called loading control. This is basically kind of a spinner. It will do this until the process is done, right, and it will get the current location from the geolocation and print it in my console. I'm just printing the latitude and the longitude in the console. So go back here to open the console, to more tools, to the developer tools, and the console is ready right now. Okay, so with the console being ready, right, now we can see how to do this. Right, so let's just reload, have it here. Let's try to move into maps directly. Okay, so you will see the locations are mentioned here. So these are the locations you are getting in from the geolocation. If you have some doubt, if you want to check whether it is really a location, right? So I can put another sentence here. Okay, location obtained from geolocation. Okay, just to show you that it's coming from here. So now you see it says that line. So basically it is now getting the location from geolocation. That's it. This is about using geolocation here. Right, moving on, let's say I want to include some kind of Google Maps. How to do it? You can use Ionic native Google Maps, which is available. Google Maps are available, but they are only supported for Android and iOS, and only browsers which are based on Chrome and Firefox. There is another option which is to use Google Maps JavaScript API. We can use that one, right, which actually supports many platforms as well as browser. One basic condition to do this, you need to have Google Maps JavaScript API key. So you have to go into your browser, access your, so for example, you have to get in, right, JavaScript API key. So this is Google Maps. So you need to get it. So you have to go in, and then you have to access to your console. Okay, so this is the console. You need to log in, go to your console, and then from there you need to access the API for Google Maps JavaScript API key. Okay, you need to generate a key here. So you can go in here to the API. So you just search for Google Maps JavaScript. So you can go in there, and then you can create your own key there. You can generate your key. So important point is to generate a key. That's it. So this will be to generate a key, you will be asked to submit credit card details as well. By the way, you will not be charged as long as your usage is within a quota. Okay. So let's now see, once you have the key, let's assume you have the key. What is the next step? The next step is to go and do some changes in this file. Go to SRC, open up index.html. Okay, this is the file. And let me open the book code SRC. I'm doing step number 3. So just go in here, index.html. So here is this line here we need to add in our code. Inside the head, you need to say, correct, Google Maps API, JavaScript API, right? And then you should have your key here, whatever your keys may be, you should put your key, and that's it. Once you have the key, you have done it in the key here. By the way, at the end of the key, you have what is called async and defer. Okay, async basically it's to execute asynchronously. Once it is ready, you can execute it. Number 2, you also have defer. This means you want to, app will be fully rendered before the script is executed. So it will be ready, app will be ready before you execute the script. So once this line has been added into the index, let's go into app folder, pages, map folder. Okay, and now you are going to work on few files here. So let me open up the files, the HTML, CSS and the TS file, 3 files here. Okay, let's go back, go to the book code, right, SRC, apps, pages, maps, need HTML, CSS and the TS file. Okay, so now let us look at the HTML file here. Here is the HTML file. Okay, in the HTML file, this one here, map.page.html, this is map.page.html. You are going to include some content here. Basically, we want to include what is for a map, what is for a description. Okay. So before going there, you could do one thing. You can just close this guy, right? Go into region, select any one of the regions, select any one of the trip here. Under options, you have the map. This is the map actually. Initially, there is nothing. Okay. It's quite empty here. Nothing is being displayed, right? So we are going to do the map here, right? Let me just close this. So added a map. If class.hidden current view equal to description. If the current view is not equal to description, you have the next one as well. Okay. So there are two conditions here. You check for and then you make sure what should be displayed and what should not be displayed, right? So one for the map, one for the description, right, based on our current locations. And then we also remove this footer here. Okay. We really don't need the things in the footer. So you could just comment them, or you could keep them. For now, let's keep it, and then we can change if need be. Let's go to the SCSS or the style sheet page. So in the style sheet, you're going to copy what is in the book, actually book code. So simply you are going to define what is the size of the height and what should be the background. So if I go back here again, click this guy just to reload, regions, choose any one of them, go to options and then map. See, still there's nothing being displayed. Okay. So let's go to more tools. Let's check in the console, is there any other issue out there, right? So click this, click on the map. Okay. So there is nothing being displayed right now because we did not yet modify the TS file. TS file is currently just showing you this route using the geolocation. Okay. So let's open up the TS file from the book. This is the TS file from the book, and this is the TS file we currently have. Okay, in the case of this TS file, there are a few things you need to do. Number one is, you will see if you move into the init map. Okay, this is your init map function. This is your init map. So what you do, just comment this guy, right, and then write this one here. Okay. So this is on init. You could call here this dot init map, and you could copy this init map here. Yeah. Right. So instead of calling calc root, you are going to call the init map here, and there could be some mistakes, right? You can see there is what is called destination is not there. So there are a lot of errors here. So let's try to correct few of them one by one. Okay. Number one, there are many things which have not been defined. So let's start defining them. These are just defining the variables. So once that is done, defining variables is gone, but yet you say you have other errors here. Has not been initialized, nav prompt does not exist, there is some Google issues. Okay, so let's go and do, you have to declare the Google here, right? So let's declare the Google. This is one variable you must declare if you want to use Google Maps JavaScript API. So that is being done now, right? So now you can see it says add destination parameter is not there, destination marker function is not there, nav params does not exist, and then is calculated has not been initialized. So let's go back to our code. Okay, if you want to initialize, just say false, for example. Okay, so this is initialized, and then so that initialize error would have gone. We have only two errors now. One is this method which is add destination marker. So let's go and add that add destination marker method. Yeah, this is the add destination marker. I'm not sure where it ends. Yeah, until here, right? So I'm going to copy add destination marker, so which I've done. Now it has an issue with this, is implicitly has type any, and then nav params does not exist. So there are two errors now. One of them is the nav params. Okay, so in the case of nav params, if you look at it, right, it's basically coming from here, and that has not been defined. So let's define it in the constructor. Okay, let's save it, see whether it works. Say it cannot find now params, maybe it is not imported there. Okay, let's check whether it is imported or not. So let's see. Okay, so here there's the last line here, right, where nav params has been imported. So let's do it like this. Okay, so that error has gone. There's only one error. This implicitly has a type any because it does not have any notations. So this is in line number 79 something. Let's go to line number 79. Here is the issue, right? So this is basically talking about the problem with this. So this has implicit any. You cannot type this here, so I will just do it like this, for example. Okay, and then it is successfully accomplished. So there is no error basically in there, but there are some other errors coming from the Bob Tours file. So let's leave it for now. Let's just refresh this guy, go to regions, go here, click, show the map. Right, now the map is being shown to you, and it has some locations which is being mentioned. So you see the name, the starting point, it's all mentioned there, right? So the point what we did is basically we have added some marker, and we have added it in the format of an info window, basically to indicate this is the name of the place, and this is just a starting point. This is an HTML format, right? And you have maximum width is also given. So you got to pass certain parameters here. So you have the marker. You want to add the marker to it. You need to link it with the info window, and you are getting the icon from this location, and you are just scaling it to the size you need, and so on. So this is what you have done. Okay, you are getting the latitude, longitude, and you are providing the marker here. So once this is done, you could also add some kind of routes. If you want to provide some routing, you could do that also. Okay, so you can see here there is what is called calc routes. This is something which is calculating, which you have seen already, but this is something, are we using this method? That is a question. Right now we are not using, we have just commented it out. Okay, so let's go back to the book code. Right, there's a calc method which is there, but it is not being used right now. Right. Okay, if you want to create the route, then you need to have what is called directions API. Right, you want to create a route here. So let's try to do some routing as well, and then we will see how it works with our Google Maps JavaScript API. Right, to do that, if you go into our calculate calc route, this is the calc route method. Okay, calc route, where is it? It's here. So I'm just going to comment the existing calc route, which is basically using the geolocation, which I'm not interested in right now, and I'm going to use the calc route which is defined here. Okay, so I'm just going to use it here. Right, you might get some errors again. So you see result is of implicit, status of implicit, add position marker does not exist. So you need to have a position marker method, which is this one. Okay, let's try to see where it ends. Yeah, this is the one. So this is being done. Any other method exists? So there are two errors. 133, line number 133, which is implicit any. So 133. So you can just say like this. Right, then the error is gone. You can just reload, go to regions, choose any one of them, go to maps. Nothing will happen right now. Nothing should happen because we basically did not call the calculate route method. So if I'm going to go here in the init map, and then I'm going to comment on this, I'm going to call the calc route. Right now I have called the calc route. So let's reload regions. Okay, let's choose map. Okay, nothing appears because here we are straight away calling the calc route. We are not calling the init map here, right? There's one thing interesting to look at here, right? So we have now done the init map, and the init map is going to just find out the routes and so on. Okay, and then if you really want to calculate the routes, right, if you want to calculate the route, then you can, but look at this. Here I'm on this, so let's open the console as well. Okay, like this map, right? So now if I'm going to click on something, okay, and if I'm going to, this is my starting point, let's say I'm going to use a location as my destination point, right? You really cannot use it because you need to have the necessary directions API. To use the directions API, you need to pay for it. Okay, it is actually something paid one. You need to pay for it if you need it to be used like this. So you can get the routes if you have the respective options, and that can give you the route as well. Okay, and you can see I can do it like this. I can go into the init map, and this has the destination marker. You see it has a destination marker, which is, you can add here. By the way, you can click this and check this. You can get the view as well. That is possible, but then you won't be able to create a route for you. That is something not possible for you. Okay, so you can check here. It's just the code, but it doesn't give you the route, right? So here it calls the route, and it says if it is a route, then call the calc route, right? So it goes to the calc route here, right? Supposed to be in the calc route, and then if it is calculated, it should return. Otherwise, it should say it's going to calculate these locations here, and it says here that is this position which is not being displayed here, right? So let's try to get, now this is from the book code, so let's go to our own code. Okay, where is the calc route? So here is the calc route. Okay, let's say we are going to write here console.log in calc routes, right, just to check whether it's coming there, right? So for example, if I'm going to just reload this, and if I click on anything, options, map, right, and then if I click on this, it goes in, it says to route, but then it doesn't show me that it has now come to the calc route method. Okay, so let's check. So it's just printing the word route here. Okay, let's quickly check it here. Yeah, so here we say this dot position, this is the event, right? It's just giving you current view event changed, but then after it changes, right, it's not moving anywhere. So when you change, right, let's compare the change part in this code. Yeah, so we need to add this, right? So let's just comment these two lines. So just saved it. Okay, so it says it doesn't know what is called EV, right? Because it's called event here. Let's say EV now, right? So if I'm gonna reload this, I choose any one, go to options, and then go to map, right? Go to consoles, right? So if I'm click on route, you see in here, okay? So let me just click this, right? And then if I'm going to use location here, for example, if this is my starting point, and if I'm going to use this as my destination point, right, it says direction request returned no results, right? So it doesn't seem to give me any results, so I can go here, click on another locations, and if I'm going to select it, okay, so it doesn't give me any answers right now, okay, because I really need to access the necessary directions API. That is the deal here. So you can check how to do this. You can see what is going on and check whether it is really loading it, whether you are getting the locations and so on. So basically you can embed the map in your app and you can try it out as well, okay. And you can see here we also have made some more changes in this code. We need to have what is called as directions service. So let me go in here and just do a search for direction service. So this is the direction service. This is under the calc root, and this has already been included, but yet you are not going to get anything here, okay. That's all from the maps. And let's imagine if you want to do the same thing in a browser, okay. For geolocation you can get, but let's say I want to use a camera, for example, or use a sensor. That is what is called Ionic native mocks, okay. These mocks can help you to do the job, like simulating a sensor, simulating a pedometer, simulating a camera, and many of these things can happen, right. By the way, it worked fine. You have some errors like in the favorite page in terms of binding some things. So for which you can check the previous notes how to get rid of these kind of errors. Okay, if you have errors in terms of binding, you might be missing Ionic module. You have not imported it maybe. So just make sure you import the necessary elements there. Okay. That's all. So you can check Ionic module need to be imported because it says favorite page. So you need to go into favorites dot. So let's check it out as well. Pages, favorites. So if you can open up the favorite page, which is favorite.page.ts, right? Here there is no Ionic which is being imported here. So let's try to check from the book code. Favorites. Okay, that is that one. So let's see here, favorite.page.ts, right? It has not been imported here. So simply I can import, and here import this guy, which is the Ionic module, and make sure it is also included in the components. Okay. And then it says the router module is not there, right? So router module is not necessary, but I'm just trying to add it here as well. Okay. So now it says that is what is called component is a standalone, cannot be declared in and this. So simply it gives you an error because you know what happened is, if you look at the module page, okay, if you go to the module page here, which is this one, favorite.module.ts, this has been declared here as a module here, which is this one here. So we might need to remove this, okay, and it becomes okay. It is compiled successfully here. So just reload, right, and then you might find that there are a few things which are missing which you need to enable again. Okay, so that's all. You can check it out. You can also handle them, right? Or if you are not bothering about such an error, you can just leave it to the original level. Okay, what I simply did is I went to the favorite pages. I have added Ionic. I have also added the router modules. That's all.